What if the most effective medicines weren't experimental, not newly discovered, not recently engineered, but proven, quietly, over hundreds and sometimes thousands of years, across continents and civilizations, long before modern laboratories? People relied on plants not because they were trendy, but because they worked. They observed carefully, they recorded results, they passed knowledge down. And today, modern research is increasingly validating what traditional systems already understood. In this video, we're exploring 20 proven medicinal plants that heal you instantly. Plants that earned their reputations through repeated use, cultural survival, and now, in many cases, scientific investigation. Stick around, because number 19 has been studied for its remarkable immune-supporting potential. And number 20 may be one of the most historically trusted natural healers on Earth. Let's begin. Number 1. Yarrow, the field-tested healer. Yarrow has been used for so long that its history blends into legend. Its botanical name, Achillea millefolium, references the ancient warrior Achilles, who was said to use it to treat wounded soldiers. But mythology aside, the plant's reputation endured for a reason. Yarrow contains flavonoids and alkaloids studied for their anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties. Research suggests it may help support minor wound healing and reduce superficial bleeding. Historically, fresh leaves were crushed and pressed directly against cuts. Dried aerial parts were brewed into teas to support fevers and digestive balance. It grows widely across North America and Europe, thriving in open fields and disturbed soil. Yarrow earned trust not through theory, but through repetition. It worked often enough that people kept using it. Number 2. Garlic, the broad-spectrum defender. Garlic has been documented in Egyptian medical texts, Greek writings, Roman military practices, and traditional Chinese medicine. That kind of cross-cultural adoption doesn't happen by accident. When crushed, garlic releases allicin, a sulfur compound studied extensively for antimicrobial, cardiovascular, and immune-supporting effects. Modern studies suggest garlic may support healthy blood pressure, cholesterol regulation, and immune defense. Historically, it was eaten raw, mixed into honey, or infused into oils for topical use. It was given to laborers for stamina, to soldiers for protection, to families during outbreaks of illness. Garlic wasn't niche, it was universal. And universality suggests reliability. Number 3. Calendula, the tissue restorer. Calendula flowers once lined monastery gardens across Europe. Monks cultivated them intentionally, not for decoration, but for medicine. Modern topical research suggests calendula extracts may support wound healing and help reduce inflammation in minor skin irritation. The plant contains flavonoids and triterpenoids studied for their tissue-supportive properties. Traditionally, petals were dried and infused into oils, then made into salves applied to cuts, burns, and abrasions. It became known as a gentle but dependable restorer, not aggressive, not harsh, but consistently supportive. Calendula proved itself slowly, one wound at a time. Number 4. Ginger, the digestive regulator. For more than 2,000 years, ginger traveled along trade routes from Asia into the Middle East and Europe. Merchants valued it not just as spice, but as preventive medicine during long voyages. Modern studies show gingerols and shogalls contribute to its anti-inflammatory and digestive supporting effects. Clinical research supports ginger's role in reducing nausea and improving gastric comfort. Traditionally, fresh slices were simmered into warming teas. Powdered ginger was mixed with honey or broth during cold weather and digestive upset. It stimulates circulation, encourages movement, supports flow, and when flow improves, many systems function better. Ginger earned its place in medicine cabinets across cultures. Number 5. Plantain, the everyday first aid. Broadleaf plantain grows in lawns, trails, and sidewalk cracks. Most people ignore it, yet for centuries, it served as immediate first aid. Modern studies suggest plantain contains compounds that support wound healing and may reduce inflammation. Some research has observed antimicrobial activity within its extracts. Traditionally, fresh leaves were crushed or chewed slightly and applied to insect bites, minor burns, or small cuts. It didn't require preparation. It required recognition. Plantain is one of the clearest examples of proven medicine hiding in plain sight. It didn't need marketing. It needed memory. Number 6. Turmeric, the inflammation regulator. Turmeric has been used continuously for over 4,000 years, not rediscovered, not revived, continuously used. Across India and the Middle East, it became foundational in both cuisine and medicine because of one repeated observation. People who consumed it regularly appeared to experience fewer inflammatory complaints. Modern research has focused heavily on curcumin, the primary active compound in turmeric. Studies suggest it may help regulate inflammatory pathways and support joint comfort, cardiovascular balance, and cellular resilience. Traditionally, turmeric wasn't taken sporadically. It was incorporated daily, mixed with black pepper to enhance absorption, stirred into warm milk, blended with honey into restorative pastes. It wasn't treated as a rescue remedy. It was treated as maintenance. And maintenance medicine often proves itself more quietly, but more reliably than dramatic intervention. Number 7. Thyme, the respiratory protector. Thyme may sit in a spice rack today, but historically it occupied a far more serious role. Ancient Greeks associated thyme with strength. During medieval outbreaks of illness, thyme was placed in sick rooms because people observed its protective qualities. Modern analysis has identified thymol as one of thyme's primary compounds. Research suggests thymol has antimicrobial and antifungal activity, along with potential respiratory supporting properties. Traditionally, thyme tea was brewed to soothe sore throats and calm persistent coughs. Steam infusions were inhaled to support airway clarity. It was valued especially during seasonal respiratory illness. Small plant, strong aroma, measured activity. Thyme proved itself not through mythology, but through repeated use during times when respiratory health mattered most. Number 8. Olive leaf, the immune reinforcer. While olive oil is celebrated, olive leaf has its own long medicinal history. Mediterranean cultures brewed olive leaves into bitter teas during periods of seasonal illness and recovery. The tree itself became a symbol of resilience, and the leaves reflected that quality. Modern research has identified oleuropein as a key compound in olive leaf. Studies suggest olive leaf extract may support immune balance, cardiovascular function, and antioxidant defense. Its activity appears broad but steady, not overpowering, not extreme, supportive. Traditionally, olive leaf was taken during recovery, not only during illness, as reinforcement. And reinforcement is a powerful concept in medicine, not just fighting symptoms, but strengthening systems. Number 9. Clove, the antimicrobial guardian. Cloves were once so valuable they influenced global trade routes. Harvested in Southeast Asia and transported across continents, they were prized not just for flavor, but for preservation and pain relief. Their key compound, eugenol, has been studied for analgesic and antimicrobial effects. Modern dental applications still use derivatives of this compound for temporary numbing and antiseptic support. Historically, clove oil was applied carefully to aching teeth. Whole cloves were simmered into decoctions for throat irritation. They were added to food not only for taste, but to reduce spoilage. That detail matters. Before refrigeration, any plant that slowed food decay earned enormous respect. Clove proved its worth in kitchens and medicine chests alike. Strong, aromatic, protective. Number 10. Nettle, the nutrient builder. Nettle commands attention immediately, with a sting. But beneath that sting lies one of the most mineral-dense wild plants used in traditional herbal systems. Nettle leaves contain iron, magnesium, calcium, chlorophyll, and flavonoids. Modern studies suggest potential support for joint comfort and seasonal immune balance. Historically, nettle was cooked to neutralize the sting and eaten as a strengthening green. It was brewed into deep, mineral-rich teas for rebuilding after illness or fatigue. It wasn't dramatic, it was restorative. Taken consistently over time, nettle was considered a builder of vitality. And vitality is often the foundation of faster recovery. Nettle did not become trusted overnight. It became trusted because it nourished reliably. Before we continue, pause for a moment. These plants come from different regions, different climates, different belief systems, and yet the same pattern appears again and again. Repeated use, repeated results, repeated survival of the knowledge. That is what makes something proven. Not popularity, not marketing, repetition across time. If you're finding this valuable, if you appreciate calm, evidence-informed exploration of traditional medicine, make sure you're subscribed, because we're not chasing trends here. We're tracing patterns that endured. Now let's continue. Number 11. Sage, the cognitive protector. For centuries, sage was cultivated deliberately in monastery gardens across Europe. There was an old saying, "How can a man die while sage grows in his garden?" That wasn't poetry. It reflected observation. Modern research has examined sage for its antioxidant and cognitive supporting properties. Some studies suggest potential benefits for memory, mental clarity, and inflammatory balance. Its volatile oils have also been studied for antimicrobial effects, particularly in the mouth and throat. Traditionally, sage tea was used for sore throats, digestive discomfort, and general vitality. It was also burned in enclosed spaces, a practice now being revisited for its air-purifying properties. Sage was not casual medicine. It was strategic medicine. Clear mind, clear system, clear function. That consistency made it endure. Number 12. Black seed, the broad tonic. Black seed, or Nigella sativa, has been cultivated for thousands of years across North Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia. Its use was broad, not specific. It was pressed into oil, sprinkled over bread, taken daily in small quantities. Its primary studied compound, thymoquinone, has attracted modern attention for antioxidant and immune-supporting properties. Research continues exploring its potential metabolic and inflammatory regulatory effects. But historically, black seed was not reserved for emergencies. It was taken regularly as reinforcement, a general tonic, a daily protector, small in size, concentrated in activity. Its longevity across cultures suggests something important. It proved itself quietly over time. Number 13. Elecampane, the deep respiratory root. Elecampane's reputation was built in damp European climates where respiratory illness lingered through cold seasons. Herbal records describe it as a root used when coughs persisted, when congestion settled deeply and refused to clear. Modern analysis has identified compounds in elecampane studied for antimicrobial and expectorant activity. Some research suggests support for respiratory comfort and microbial balance. Traditionally, the thick root was simmered into long decoctions. It was taken slowly, in small amounts, over days or weeks. It was not dramatic, it was persistent. Elecampane earned its reputation by helping when other lighter herbs were not enough. And that kind of dependability becomes proven through experience. Number 14. Pomegranate, the cardiovascular ally. Pomegranate appears repeatedly in ancient Mediterranean and Middle Eastern cultures, not only symbolically, but nutritionally. Modern research has identified punicolagens and polyphenols within pomegranate studied for antioxidant capacity and cardiovascular support. Clinical investigations suggest potential benefits for blood pressure balance and arterial health. Historically, the fruit was consumed fresh and pressed into juice. The rind was dried and used for digestive preparations. It wasn't treated as dessert alone. It was considered protective food, and protective foods become staples. When a fruit sustains reputation across centuries of use, that consistency matters. Pomegranate did not become revered randomly. It became valued through repeated observation of benefit. Number 15. Honey, the applied healer. Long before synthetic antiseptics existed, honey was applied directly to wounds. Ancient Egyptians documented its use. Greek physicians described its cleansing effects. Roman soldiers carried it into battle. Modern research confirms raw honey contains enzymes that produce antimicrobial compounds. Medical-grade honey is still used in wound care today because of its moisture balancing and antibacterial properties. Traditionally, honey was layered over cuts and burns, then covered with cloth. It was also taken internally to soothe irritated throats and persistent coughs. It preserved food. It preserved tissue. It reduced spoilage. Honey was not mystical. It was practical. And practicality builds trust faster than theory. Number 16. Boswellia, the joint stabilizer. Boswellia resin has been harvested for thousands of years from trees growing in dry mountainous regions of Africa and the Middle East. It was transported along ancient trade routes, not only for ritual use, but for medicine. Modern research has focused on boswellic acids, compounds studied for their ability to influence inflammatory pathways, particularly in joints and connective tissue. Clinical investigations suggest potential support for joint mobility and digestive inflammatory balance. Historically, the resin was dried, powdered, and taken in small measured amounts over extended periods. Not immediate relief, gradual stabilization. In harsh climates where resources were limited, any medicine that repeatedly reduced pain and improved mobility earned enormous respect. Boswellia did not survive centuries of trade because it smelled pleasant. It survived because it worked often enough to justify transport across deserts. That is the definition of proven. Number 17. Turmeric, the system regulator. While turmeric has ancient culinary roots, its medicinal use was deliberate and systematic. Across traditional Indian medicine, it was classified as a regulator, a plant used to maintain internal balance rather than treat a single isolated symptom. Modern studies continue examining curcumin for its antioxidant activity and its influence on inflammatory signaling pathways. Research suggests potential roles in joint support, cardiovascular health, and metabolic balance. But historically, turmeric was not taken in isolation. It was combined with black pepper for enhanced bioavailability, blended into oils, used consistently, not occasionally. Consistency is what made it proven. It wasn't emergency intervention. It was daily reinforcement, and daily reinforcement compounds over time. Number 18. Olive leaf, the cellular defender. Olive trees are among the longest living cultivated trees in human history. Some specimens have survived for centuries, even millennia. The leaves of these trees were used medicinally across Mediterranean cultures during times of illness and recovery. Modern research has identified oleuropein and related polyphenols studied for antimicrobial, antioxidant, and cardiovascular supporting properties. Olive leaf extract continues to be investigated for immune modulation and cellular protection. Historically, leaves were steeped into bitter teas and taken during seasonal outbreaks or periods of weakness. It wasn't dramatic medicine, it was reinforcing medicine. Olive leaf became proven through seasonal repetition, year after year, generation after generation. Number 19. Clove, the pain interrupter. Clove's medicinal use is documented across Asian, Middle Eastern, and European traditions. Its primary compound, eugenol, has been studied for analgesic and antimicrobial activity. Modern dentistry still utilizes derivatives of this compound because of its numbing and antiseptic effects. Historically, clove oil was applied carefully to aching teeth. Whole cloves were chewed slowly for oral discomfort. They were also incorporated into preservation techniques to reduce microbial growth in stored foods. In a world without antibiotics or synthetic anesthetics, any plant that could reduce pain and slow infection spread was invaluable. Clove's strong aroma was not decorative. It signaled potency, and potency, when repeatedly effective, becomes proven. Number 20. Garlic, the cross-cultural constant. Very few medicinal plants appear across nearly every major civilization. Garlic is one of them. Ancient Egyptians fed it to laborers for stamina. Greek physicians documented its therapeutic use. Roman soldiers consumed it before battle. Traditional Chinese medicine incorporated it into formulations. Middle Eastern households used it during outbreaks of illness. Modern research continues examining allicin and related sulfur compounds for antimicrobial and cardiovascular supporting properties. Studies suggest garlic may contribute to healthy blood pressure regulation, cholesterol balance, and immune response. But what makes garlic unique is not just laboratory validation. It is cross-cultural confirmation. When independent civilizations, separated by geography and language, all adopt the same plant for protection and vitality, that convergence matters. Garlic did not rely on trend. It relied on repeated, observable effect. That is what makes something proven. Closing. When you step back and look at these 20 plants, something becomes clear. They were not discovered once. They were rediscovered repeatedly. Across continents, across centuries, across cultures that never communicated with one another. That pattern is powerful, because independent repetition reduces coincidence. These plants are not replacements for modern medical care, but they are evidence of something important. Human beings have always studied nature carefully. They observed outcomes. They kept what worked. They discarded what didn't. And what remains today, after centuries of filtering, is knowledge that survived testing. Proven does not mean perfect. It means repeated. It means reliable enough that people kept returning to it. And many of these plants are still here, still growing, still accessible, still studied, waiting to be remembered.